What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the B3 Podcast. I'm your host, Brett. I got Matt GPT. I got Tanner the Head. We have our show partners, Elite Nutrition. Check them out at elitenutritionomaha.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off. You can go to the store in Omaha or Lincoln and yell B3.
Get a free shaker.
And you have your new Illuminati product.
Illuminate. Yeah. That was my idea. Illuminati, but yeah.
What is this product?
It's a nootropic focused powdered energy drink. Like, I took it yesterday and like I probably should have been eating lunch and I didn't eat lunch yet. And about 30 minutes later, I am like lit, flying. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I haven't had, that like the first time you drank like a Monster.
Yeah. And
you're like, this is I was like, let's go. But like, we have a ton of nootropics like lion's mane, GABA, alpha GPC, huperzine, and Kana, and then 320 milligrams of caffeine. And then the caffeine's blended, so we have a slow release
Just
caffeine.
All that like on high.
Yeah, so you just don't crash. Like, I had it at noon yesterday, and I didn't have any more caffeine the rest of the day. I was good.
So are you getting rid of your other product? You getting rid of Red Wave?
So that's our pre-workout.
Because people have been asking.
That's our pre-workout. So what a lot of people don't understand is that the dyes that are in a lot of products, we didn't add dyes. They're in the flavoring, right? So you buy a flavor system, and it's in there. Well, we want to get rid of the dyes.
Because people taste with their eyes.
Yes, that was the old idea. So, but we want to get rid of the dyes, which means we have to reflavor the whole product. And if you've never made a product before, when you're trying to flavor against like creatine and citrulline and beta-alanine and a bunch of other things,
Yeah, beta-alanine.
It is a pain in the ass. So we're reformulating it.
So what's your flavors of the Illuminati? Just one?
Right now is Arctic Cherry. We'll have other flavors coming. Kind of already have them kind of stacked, like a couple like stacked up already.
Okay. We'll probably have some of that here at some point.
Yeah. Illuminati.
Yep. We also have Rosewood Block. They make the best cutting boards and barbecue. Check them out at rosewoodblock.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off there. And we have Omaha Barbell, the real Midwest Mecca, where we record from. And you can just come and pay a drop-in and have a great time.
Yeah. And you get a great time for a whole month if you pay a small monthly fee.
Yeah, you can do all kinds of great things here. But anyway, on with the show, we have a guest with us. We have Jeff Elseman. Did I say last name Elseman?
Yes, sir.
God, man, I didn't fuck that up. That's good.
Well, it doesn't seem too hard to fuck up.
Well, no, but some people, you ever meet somebody and like their name, like it's like should be super easy, and then they try to make it fancy?
Mm-hmm. I've had plenty of Elfmans in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't know where the
F came from.
Yeah, but they love to say that. Yeah.
You know what? It's like I was watching Rogan's podcast with Guy Fieri, and I don't understand how he gets that from his last name either.
Right.
Because there's not a T in it or anything. There's like some R's in it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I don't understand it. I don't even know.
And he says it all funny, Guy. When he says it, he says he's like talking completely normal, and then he says his like last name very Italian.
Well, it's like when you watch any of those cooking shows, and all of a sudden mozzarella is like some fucking crown jewel that they just like came up with.
Fresh mozza is pretty good.
But anyway, so you have an interesting career.
Correct. Yeah.
Are you a professional gambler or a professional card player or?
Well, I'd say both.
Okay.
But mainly professional poker player. Do a lot of sports betting as well.
How do you get to that? How do you decide that status? Like you just once you've quit your regular job, you consider yourself a professional?
Yeah, like once you
because some people think they are, and then they don't have a family anymore.
Absolutely, you can lose a lot of things. And you're never going to become great if you don't go broke a few times as well. It's kind of
entrepreneurship.
It's a scary little situation. Yeah, like it was in 1998. I was living in Arizona, and I was selling cars. I was in the car business, sold for Cadillac. And a guy drugged me off to the casino one night, like after a regular night out at the bars with the guys from work. And at that time, it was really a pink tent in the middle of the desert. I don't know if you're familiar with Scottsdale, but the Pima reservation had this like literally like a tent. It was obviously a huge, massive place, but it was It wasn't like made out of concrete or anything.
It's just a big
It was like, you know what the tent city, their jail's like, right?
Yeah.
It was very similar to that. Only it was bright pink and it was in the middle of the desert. So we're driving out to it and I'm like, fuck, this is gonna be great, you know? And we got there at like, I don't know, like 1 a.m. You know, it was like after bar type last minute decision and I was against it. But then once I got there, it was like everything just was amazing. And I sit at a table.
So this is the full-on casino or just card
This
game?
was the full-on casino. They only had slots at the time with a poker room. And the poker room probably had 30 tables. And it was on like a Friday or Saturday night. And it was full. The place was full. So I was just like amazed by that. So I sit at a table. I think I bought in for like $200. It was a stud game. This was before like the poker boom with the Texas Hold'em, and which was in 2003. So to let you know what time we're in 98. So I sit there, and you know it's like two dudes from the East Coast that are loud and talking a lot, and then even two like elderly women. Just the whole diversity of the table was kind of cool. And I noticed right away how bad they were. You know, I was just like,
Yeah.
nobody's folding. You know, nobody is folding. I'm playing a game. I think the structure of the game was 8-16. So $8 would be with you start with 3 cards in stud. You get 2 down, 1 up. So it would be $8, and then once you make it to Fifth Street, which would be the 5th card, you could bet 16, with 4 raises total. So the game wasn't very huge, but it was, you know, for my first time, it played big enough. And I just noticed that I was the only one folding. You know, I was like, what's going on here? And then I realized that these people are just having fun, you know, but like, I think the fun part of poker is winning. You know?
Obviously, taking people's money.
I would too.
So basically, like, you're gonna want to have a starting hand of like at least like get dealt like maybe ace, king, queen, or a pair, or all 3 of the same suit, or a run like a 7, 8, 9. You could possibly play, but at the same time, you have to pay attention to all the door cards, because if a bunch of your cards are out there, then you just fold. You know. So, anyways, that night I made like $600, you know, over like a 5-hour period.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was thinking, man, maybe I'll come back tomorrow, you know, and play in a different, because they had higher games, obviously. And anyways, we didn't go back for a couple weeks or whatever. And then finally I brought it up. I was like, let's go play cards, you know, forget going to the little Scottsdale bars. Let's go straight there.
Yeah.
And we went, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock on like a Saturday. I sat in the same game with probably 2 or 3 of the same people. And then I made like another 600-800 and, you know, just got that greedy taste in my mouth, and then looked over to another game, a bigger game. So went over and sat in that game and lost all the money that I had won in the first game. So then I was confused. I was like, shit, are these guys better? Are they playing better? No, it was just I went on a bad run, you know. But like anytime you actually have a win booked, just go home, just leave. Don't go over to the slot machine. Don't go to the craps table. Just go. You've won, you know. Mm-hmm. And so I lost all the money, was pissed off, devastated, didn't go back for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. But technically I was only stuck $200 because I had won 6 the first time I was there. The next time I went, they have what's called a bad beat jackpot. And what that consists of is they take a rake for the regular games, and for the bad beat jackpot, they'll take an extra $1 off to the side. And a bad beat jackpot consists of aces full of 10s and a full house being beat. So anything that beats aces full of 10s becomes the bad beat jackpot at that time.
So you're talking 2 aces, 3 10s, or vice versa?
3 aces with 2 10s.
Okay.
And then anything that beats that, which would be aces full of jacks or higher, And I was playing in that same stud game, and I made a straight flush, and another lady made a lower straight flush. And so I didn't even know this was even a thing. Okay. And I just felt like maybe she had like a king high flush or whatever it was. It didn't matter. So we're betting back and forth. She keeps raising me. I keep raising her. And then finally it's just over. We have all our chips in. And we flip up our hands, and the rest of the table all just jump up in the air like, holy shit. And I know there's more to it than just the fact that I've beat this lady and we both had straight flushes, Well, what had happened was we won the jackpot, but it had just been reset like 2 hours before we hit it. So we kind of hit the mini one, which was still fine. Like, I think my half was... So she gets the manly share. She gets the 50%. Then I get 25, and then table share for the rest of the players.
Okay.
And I think my half was like 3,600. It was a lot, But 2 hours previously, it would have been like 40,000. And so the floor man had to tell me that, right?
Yeah,
I was all
son of a
green.
bitch.
I was green to all this, and so then now I'm pissed, And I won 3,600. I only bought into this game for like 400, And anyways, and everybody's, having a great time. Now they start drinking, and it's a party. Because I think the table share for the rest of them was like 12 or 1,300 a piece. And then the lady got 7,200. She gets double of whatever I got. And so there it was. So I was like, wait a minute. So now I can sit here, play cards with people that I don't think are playing as well as they should. And I might also have a shot at this big jackpot every time we sit down and play. It just made sense. It started making more sense. Then also I noticed during like football season, you would go play. This place would give you free squares. They would $500 winner every quarter, for every game all day long.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I got to figure out how am I going to come here on Saturdays when that's the biggest day of the car business ever. I'm never getting that off. But I for sure started going on Sundays. And you would win one of those square things like, I don't know, it felt like I was winning them like once a month, which was pretty solid.
Especially because it was free.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, $500. All right.
It was free, yeah. It was free, and it just turned into like the regular thing. And basically, I started playing higher. Started playing a couple of mixed games, which would be stud, Omaha, high-low split, and the Hold'em. Hold'em was real small back then. So back then, with like 30 tables in a poker room, all of them were stud, and one in the corner was Hold'em. And now that's
Completely
the other
reversed.
way around.
Yeah.
that's reverse, yeah. However, now all the Hold'em guys are starting to find new games, so the mixed games are starting to make a comeback.
Okay.
There's been all kinds of different waves of poker, and it's starting to change a little bit. So then I unfortunately moved back to Omaha.
Hey.
Mind you, I'm in Arizona, okay, which if you've been to Arizona, you know.
It's all right.
It's okay, yeah. Anyways, I moved back here to take care of my mom, and obviously poker sucks here, obviously. And then the only casino we've had is the Horseshoe, which at one time the Horseshoe was pretty solid. The poker was pretty solid there. During the pandemic, everything shut down. So people started firing up more private games than usual. And then that took a real big hit against the casino's poker room because people decided, man, this is cool. We're just playing in Ted's backyard,
Yeah.
and we can bring everything we want for free, and we don't have to sit in a smoky casino or whatever, And it hasn't recovered yet. It hasn't recovered. There's, for instance, last night I just played in a private game that's right around the corner. It's on like 84th and K, and wasn't expecting to play last night because I knew I was coming today, but they're not going to play on Monday because of the holiday. So I said, okay, I'll go over there. and the game was really good. And I didn't get out of there till about 4:30. And then and it's really crazy because like you legit win or lose, I do personally, you just lay on your pillow for like 2 hours and you can't sleep, you know. But usually if you've won, you're more comfortable. That's right. If you've blown your brains out, you're just squirming a little bit, probably chewing on
Replaying every hand.
Exactly.
Like a private game. Like what kind of money is in the private games?
So for instance, like last night's game was called PLO 8, which stands for Pot Limit Omaha 8 or better, and also Big O, which is a game called Big Omaha, and it is the same Omaha high-low split game, but they add a card. So regular Omaha high-low will have 4 cards, and Big O has 5. And what that means is there's obviously going to be more people with bigger hands. It just adds into the equation with that extra card. And the best part about this, and hopefully none of these guys hear this, but they play terrible here in Omaha. This Big O game, right?
Yeah.
It's not a very popular game, and they haven't learned how to master it like they're supposed to. So.
Well, it keeps so many more people in because
Yes.
they're chasing.
Absolutely.
And then your hands, obviously, what was a good hand in regular
Yeah.
is not necessarily a good hand when you have an extra card.
So the best hand available on the board once the river is out there is called the nuts. And this is a game where you have to have the nuts. Now, you might be drawing to the nuts and somehow win the pot with like 2 pair, but it's also a high-low split game. And what that means is from ace to 8, you have to have 3 of those cards not matching on the board and 2 in your hand that do not match those to make 5 separate low cards. So a nut low hand to start with would be ace deuce. So technically I don't even play any 5 cards unless there's an ace deuce in it. Every once in a while, if I like look at king, king, queen, queen, 6, I'll look at the flop just in case a king or a queen hits the flop. If there's like 4 or 5 guys in the hand already, and it's kind of like a one and done. Like if you do not hit the king or queen, you just fold, you know. And I hate to play that hand usually because when you do hit that king or queen, now you're just in there. And you have people trying to make straights, flushes, and the low against you, and you have to pair the board, obviously, to win. But when that happens, you win a huge pot, you know. And then we also play Monday nights. I've been playing probably with the same group of 40 guys for about 20 years.
40 guys, god damn, that's a big game.
Well, not all at once, but rotate through. And that game is stud 8 or better, which is stud high-low split, Omaha high-low, and Hold'em, and a round of Hold'em. So 3 different games. And I don't know. I like playing in those mixed games because you're not just sitting around, getting bored. If you get bored at the card table, you need to get up because you're about to do something real stupid.
You're about to make it exciting.
You're about to blast off something.
When you're playing in the private games, can you like just cash out when like you're done and bored? You're like, hey, listen,
You can, yes.
Okay.
And so there's poker etiquette, right? But some people don't have it. Some people don't have proper etiquette in life, so they're not going to find it on the poker table.
So will they get reinvited back if they?
They will be not invited back if it's called it's called hit and run, or like there's other names for it too. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. The game that I play in now, there isn't like a set time, which I would like. During football season, guys leave about right after Monday Night Football's over. So you know that when that's coming. Like if you don't have a nice little stack by halftime, you might be looking to get even. And but years ago, we used to drive over to Des Moines every week, and we played in this hotel game. And you agreed if you were winners, you couldn't leave before midnight. Now, if you lost your first hand, you can leave.
Yeah.
But if you were winners, you had to stay till midnight, and that was just a gentleman's agreement.
So
It
is
was
that's that part of the etiquette? Like, hey,
Yeah.
if you're up big, like
Yep.
you hang around and you play for a while. You don't just show
Correct.
up. Like
Yeah.
win a few big hands
Yeah.
and then like, all right, see you.
and some guys, like, they'll win a couple big pots, and now everybody knows they're gonna
Fold.
fold. Yeah, they're gonna play.
Well, I was
tight.
gonna say, so yeah, you're in a game like that, you're not leaving with your peak amount of money then,
Probably.
because you're gonna have to play a couple hands just out of etiquette.
Right. Yeah, like locally, I don't even care about that because nobody else does. But I've been out of town plenty of times where I wasn't sure, what's going on here. I definitely don't want to be the big winner at a game I've never been in. Not for the fact I won't get invited back, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know these guys.
Tell a story of when you were in Texas.
Yeah, so I was in Texas, down there in Austin. I went down there for the South by Southwest. I don't know if you guys
Yep.
are familiar with that,
Yeah.
like music comedy festival or whatever. Anyways, and just somehow backed into, I think she was a bartender somewhere. Anyway, so I just got this weird referral from a random girl to call a random dude, and
All
I
right,
was
I'm
gonna-
in.
Yeah, because I was going to be down there for like a week, and I was like, man, and I knew Texas had big poker. They didn't have any casinos at the time. Now they have card rooms, but they're just card rooms, no casino. Anyways, I go to this game. It's pretty big. There's 2 tables, so I want to sit at the smaller game. That's what I tell the guy. But the smaller game is pretty big too, And anyways, I bought in for $1,000. It was like a 2-5 no limit hold'em game, but they don't have a cap down there, so there was a couple guys at the table with 20,000. Some guys do that. That was kind of an old thing that older dudes did back in the day.
Like an intimidation factor.
Yes.
Like they just
throw it
buy
out.
in with a
Exactly. Yep. Just boop 20. Yeah. And there's really not an advantage in that spot. And some people would think there is, but if I sit here with 1,000, I just wait to get in a good spot, and then he's obviously going to pay me off because he's got 20,000. Where some people think he's going to push you around. Well, just wait for a big hand and stick it in him. Like, you know what I mean? Boom, and now you got
Yeah.
2,000. So, anyways, I was up like 5,600 or something like that. Things were going good. I noticed there was a couple different guys that didn't like each other at the table, and there was a little bit of tension, and I didn't know whose side was right and wrong. And I was like, I don't know what the right number is, so I tried blasting off a hand, Well, I had like an 8 high flush draw with a gutter ball straight draw or something like that. And so I just,
You're trying to lose.
yeah, I'm trying to lose. I basically go over the top. The guy's got like a pair of kings or some big hand like that. And I raise him, and then he puts me all in, and I end up binking the like heart on the turn. So now I'm up even more. I'm up like 8,000. And I don't hear good hand. I don't hear nice hand for anybody, And then they find out I'm from Nebraska too. So that was a fun little hour of talk, football talk. You guys used to be good, blah, blah, blah. So I just sat there literally trying to lose for another couple hours, and I did dust off like probably 1,000 or so, and it was all safe and sound. But the weird part was there was like armed guards at the front and back doors, and I didn't know what was going on, if they'd had problems in the past or any of that. And I got a rental car. I don't know for sure what I'm going to do with all this cash. And it was just it was about one of the first experiences being out of town and playing just absolute strangers with no little safety net of, casino cameras to protect my little pile of change, And so that was crazy. And obviously I did not get invited back to that one. The guy.
So what did you leave that night with then? Like $7,000?
Yeah, it was. It was close, 7, a little over, or something like that. And it was just a pay, and that was it. And he didn't go, hey, we play tomorrow at 6 or any of that.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any problems at all.
Why do people get like butthurt if you come in and like clean house? Like, hey, I invited this guy and he
Right.
cleaned my clock.
I think it's like
don't want
going to
him
a
back.
small town and like walking in the bar and you're the,
Yeah.
and then you get in a fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
You're on their
It's-
turf.
Yeah, it is. There's definitely a lot of politics that go into different groups of poker guys, right? So those guys might have been playing together for 20 years.
Yeah.
Never see me ever. And they also don't want to see the money go back to Nebraska, right? They want the money to stay in their area.
Circulate that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, it happens to our games a lot too. You know.
Now, do you ever carry any of these games, or do they check you for that stuff?
I have, but they don't really check. I wouldn't say anybody checks anybody. No, not anyway. Actually, you know what? I did get wanted down in that Texas game. I got the. So I don't know what they would have said. I think obviously there were some guys in there with guns. This place over here is like hit or miss, which I don't like. It's like, are you gonna have a security guard or you're not? You know, like. So
there's not always a security guard.
Right.
So when there is one, you're like, okay, what the fuck's going on?
yeah, it's like I don't know, and then I don't know. Like, what's this guy even about? This guy might end up getting us killed. You know.
Or rob you?
Yeah.
You ever been robbed?
I have been in 2 games that got robbed. Luckily, I actually didn't lose very much money. One was a really small game, which was really weird. Nobody got hurt except one guy did get pistol whipped because he wouldn't sit down and shut up. And then we're just all sitting there like, dude, what are you doing? You know? And then I've also been at 2 games that were raided by the Vice, Omaha Vice, I think. Something like that. And basically they were just looking for underage drinking and drugs, and none of that was there. And they wrote 1 ticket to just some dumbass that wouldn't shut up, and they wrote it for just disorderly conduct. Yeah, but like they were not even there for the poker actually. And I don't know if so it's illegal to take a rake basically in the state of Nebraska. I think almost in all states. And a rake is the money that they take out of each pot.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the game illegal. But
So you guys can play whatever underground game or that's not illegal just to bet it?
correct. Yeah.
I figured they would want their cut out of the winnings or...
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird because they could easily they're not even opening up a poker room at Warhorse, you know, and they could easily just take all the business from Horseshoe because people want a new place to play at, you know, and it's closer, you know. The year where we lost the vote for casinos, I think by 2%, they were going to have a Venetian. Are you guys familiar with the Venetian? The Venetian was going to be where Rick's Boatyard was. And it would have been so perfect because like the overflow from Creighton games, you know.
Yeah, you got so much stuff happening down there.
There's no overflow in Council Bluffs, Iowa for anything.
Yeah.
Let alone a, poker game. But they missed that vote, and then they never even brought it back to the table for 15, maybe 20 years, I think it's been. And then Warhorse is just tiptoeing in, they're doing, they've got, they have table games, slots, sports book, but they're not supposedly considering a poker room. And it's really strange. Obviously, the slot machines are going to be the number one moneymaker in the casino, but from the knowledge that I've received from somebody that knows, they're making $3 million a year at Horseshoe from the rake off of the poker games. And that is just the rake going down the poker table. That's not what banker Bob drops at the craps table on the way out. Or betting on the Huskers or the Hawkeyes or whatever. And so it's strange that they don't encourage the poker community more.
Yeah, that's. I assumed that Warhorse would have that. Like a casino without a poker room seems weird.
Right.
I had a buddy back in the day. I went to school with a bunch of nerds for IT, and his brother worked at Ameristar, and they said their overhead was completely covered by the penny slots.
Yeah.
Everything else at that time was just profit.
believe it.
The penny slots covered. Because, I mean, everybody knows a penny slot's not really a penny.
Right.
Because you play it, you
Max bet.
yeah, you do your max bet, so
they're
now it's
crazy.
like $1.85 a pop.
And it gets higher and higher in Vegas now. I just saw the max bet on a penny machine was up to like $12 for max.
And I'll go to Vegas and I don't necessarily gamble that much, but we'll be like, we were waiting for reservations somewhere. To Hash House. Dude, Hash House to go so good.
Yeah.
And I'm just like playing this machine. My wife's uncle's with me. I have like no fucking idea because you can win like 47 different ways.
Right.
I just keep hitting max bet.
Right.
And I kept getting free spins, and then I won like $600 on it.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'm done here.
This gambling thing's easy.
Yeah, this thing's super easy.
Yeah, I mean that's the trick to a slot machine. If you can get it to make any noise at all and get in the
Yeah.
plus, you just got to go.
Yeah,
You cannot
you go
continue
win.
to go trying to hit some. If you can turn it into a couple $100 or whatever it is, whatever you hit, just go after that.
Yeah, I made 600, and then
Yeah.
I met Emmett Smith at an autograph signing, and that cost me $400. So there went like two. there went most to that.
Hey, but you won that. It's fine. It's free.
Yeah,
free
yeah,
money.
It's like a free deal. But how'd you get into it? Like even like all the poker games you're naming off. Like I've played Hold'em, and most of those I don't know. Like, and it's a lot too.
Yeah. So my grandma actually was the first person that turned me on to poker. She was a championship bridge player. And I think I was probably, 10 maybe. She showed me how to play canasta, gin, rummy, whatever, Uno, and then poker. So I developed a liking for the cards at a young age. But then played a little bit in high school, just a little bit, not too much because there still wasn't a poker boom yet. And then Arizona was really the start of it. But then I started going up to Vegas, and then this was before the poker boom. Now poker in Vegas sucks because they're all good. You will very rarely find a good cash game in Vegas. And but back then it was great because most everybody was tourists. But then when poker, became big, like 2003 was about the year, I think Moneymaker was in the mix, and then everybody was playing online. And then kids just turned into filthy rich little spoiled brats and had backpacks full of money and started moving to Vegas. And so it just changed the whole scene,
Did you play any of the online stuff?
I did play online. Did not have a very good taste for it from the beginning. I just kind of figured man, this can't be on the square. Something isn't right about this. But was watching people win tons of money. So it was real. But there ended up, being I don't know if you guys remember Full Tilt. It was called Full Tilt.
Yep.
It ended up being a Ponzi scheme where they all the accounts that were on their site needed to add up to 80 million plus, and they had 8 million or something. It was a big deal, and nobody went to jail, and they just paid a few fines, and then they were blackballed. They cannot show their faces in Vegas and stuff. But yeah, we would always play on Sunday. Me and a friend, we would play on Sunday. 2 laptops. I played on his wife's because they had the same IP or however that works. But it ended up backfiring on us. We did, basically we weren't colluding. Collusion is what they look for in the online stuff. We weren't sitting there hey, I got this as a hand, this blah, blah, blah. We were actually playing on our own. But we were chopping the winnings together, whatever you do.
Oh yeah.
And so we were playing 4, maybe 5 different events every Sunday. And we ended up in this, it's called Horse. And what that is Hold'em, Omaha, Raz, Stud, and Stud 8 or better. So it's 5 games.
Yeah. It's all good.
Anyways, me and him end up at the final table together. And I was short stack, which means I had the least amount of chips on the table. And I had a hand where I had 2 aces. It was like a stud hand. I had 2 aces with the 6 or something like that. And I can't remember what he had, but he ended up knocking me out. And then he went on to win it. So I came in 4th and he came in 1st. And it was was for a lot of money. It was for like maybe 150 grand. And they froze our accounts and sent an email that said we were under investigation for collusion, blah, blah, blah. And basically what happened was he got a lawyer because he obviously had the Manly share, but we were splitting it. But we had to take a little bit out for the lawyer. We ended up winning the case, but it took like 6 months. And basically what it was is, you know, when you're sitting next to each other losing, nobody cares. But you want to, you know, you win a little money, and now we're cheating.
Yeah, now we care.
And so that was kind of a, you know, interesting situation, and I never really trusted the online again.
Do you? I assume you have a different play style if you're going to play like a private game versus like going to a casino and playing against people there, just because of the caliber of folks.
Yeah. So the game that I would play in that's at the casino, they play on Fridays. It's the biggest game that they have now. It's the same guys every time, you know, and so and all of them are good.
Okay.
So to make a poker game worth your while, you're gonna need two bad players in the game. You know, they call them fish. You're gonna need two fish in the game, otherwise, you know, you can't play. And usually, if those two guys go busted and leave, everyone else just kind of looks around. You know, it's time to go. You know, but when you go to some of these private games, you run into some better games. There's also guys that are drinking heavily. See, in Iowa, they sell drinks over there, but if you are visually intoxicated, they'll kick you out. Kind of a strange law, but
yes, they do.
They do it all the time. And that's a whole nother story. These kids used to come down from Chicago for these big tournaments, and they were like 21 years old. They used to play up there, get free drinks. So they come down here to play in the tournament, and they had to buy all their drinks, and they would get kicked out for being drunk. And it was the most hilarious thing to watch because they were losing their minds. Like, what do you mean? I just paid, you know, $180 for my drinks tonight, and now I got to leave. And they're still trying to play poker, you know.
And you're like, leave them there.
Right. But yeah, it's really tough finding good games around here. Then you obviously, if I miss a week or something, then you lose your seat. You know, if I go on a vacation or go to another city to play cards, then I have to find my way.
But you're not going to go to the casino and just like sit at a random table and just play with some folks.
I mean, I would, as long as it looked like there's, you know, some money to be made. But I'm never trying to just go play to have fun or kill time. I've just been playing for too long, you know.
So can you like kind of scout a table before you sit down?
Yeah.
So if you go into
definitely.
a casino, will you kind of like watch the table for a little bit before you go?
And then, you know, you get in good with the floor people. So if you sit at a table and that ends up being no good, you can move tables, you know, just request a table change. And then, I don't want to drop any names, obviously, but if you see so-and-so at a table, you definitely want to go follow him.
Like, do they know they're the fish at the table?
Yes, they do. There's a couple guys that are just so wealthy that they have a good time just splashing around a lot of money, and they have like probably a 15% chance of winning.
And they don't even care.
And they don't care. And then
Perfect.
And then and you're just like, where is this money coming from? Because after they blow like $5,000 in the poker, you walk out and they're at the baccarat, you know, still playing. And there's some sickos out there, that's for sure. And there's been a lot of interesting characters where you were like, where's the money coming from? And then you see them on the news, and you're like, oh, there was this doctor that was I think it was welfare fraud or Medicaid fraud. Anyways, he was basically overcharging the government. He was like tripling everybody's prices and whatnot, and he was wealthy for about 2 years. And so he fattened up the poker scene pretty good. And I think he got pretty good chunk of time. I think he got like 5 or 6 years in the feds.
So when you're playing, like, because obviously we're talking about you're a professional at it. Like, do you go into a game ever like, I need to make this amount, or does that, if you think that way, does that fuck up your play style? You
It
know
does.
what I mean?
It does. Yeah. So definitely you want to have an idea of what you're trying to win. Like for instance, last night's game was a $500 max buy-in, and I was maybe hoping to make like $300 or $400. I ended up making like 680, which was great.
So you're talking 680 on top the
Yeah.
your 500 you put in. So you
Yeah.
11,
Yeah,
about 1,200
$11,
bucks you made
yeah,
then.
Yeah. And so what I do sometimes is, or not sometimes, but all the time, once I've played, we'll just say I've played 4 or 5 hours, and then I have a decent win already. I look around at the chips and I added up a rough estimate, and then I try to win 10% of that number. And so then if I look down and I'm like, I already got 5% of that number, I need to win another 400 and I'm out of here. So you try to stay focused and have somewhat of a structure, Also, as soon as you think it's time to leave, you just have to leave, because so many players, it's called playing out of the rack. And so what that means is they're racking up their chips to book this win, and they're still playing. They're still looking at their free hands because there's the blinds on the table, right? And once you've paid those blinds, you get all the rest of the hands for free. And so a guy might have 3 hands left, and he's racking up his chips. He's got whatever, 1,200 plus he's won. And then he gets into a hand and gets unlucky and ends up losing like 800 in that hand or whatever. And so that's called playing out of the rack, which you should never do. Once you get the racks out, just don't even take your free hands. Just call it a night.
Yeah,
Well, there's always something to where there's always a chase.
Right.
That's part of the reason why you started gambling,
Right.
right? Is there's the chase.
Right.
So if you see something and you have cards and you
Yeah.
didn't get up,
Right.
yeah, you're going to play.
Right.
So don't look.
Right.
But I get what you're saying. Like the worst thing, like going to the casino with a friend and like say you're up, you play some blackjack and you're up and you're like, all right, I'm ready to go. Well,
Right.
they drove or something. You know what I mean? And you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you end up
Right.
losing everything because they're trying to win their money back. And then
Right. I've seen that happen many times.
How many days a week do you play?
Right now, I'm only playing like 3 to 4. I used to be a sicko. I used to put in I don't know, probably close to 60 hours. and at the time, you're just sitting. You can get up and dance around and stretch out a little bit, but it just overall you're just sitting there. So I used to go on big trips, and like for instance, I found the casino in Hollywood, Florida. Let's see, it's been like 3 years ago. That was the newest place that I'd never been to, and when I landed in their poker room, it was like I landed on another planet. I couldn't even believe what was going on. So to describe it, when you play in the Horseshoe and Council Bluffs, you have, Farmer Fred, Farmer Bill, Dr. Tom, firefighter, and some old lady. Same every week, right? And South Florida is like, the diversity there is insane, right? Everyone hates each other at the table, but they don't say it, but their playing style shows it, right? You got Russian guy, Jewish guy, Jamaican guy from New York City on the run, it's just a crazy experience. And it's like that at every table. And the population is so big down there too, that they have like 60 poker tables. And on like a Monday night, there'll be like 30 of them are full.
Wow.
It was just a whole new experience. And obviously it's called running good. If you're winning and playing good and you get lucky as well, it's called running good. I was running so good down in Florida that I delayed my trip twice to come back. I actually flew my girlfriend down to visit, because she was like, what are you doing? you know, and
Winning.
I had to show her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to show her the chips, you know.
Yeah.
And because I was up, I don't know, like in the first 2 days, I was up like 26,000, you know, and I just was playing in the highest game they had, which was I was a little uncomfortable in the game, to be honest. It was playing that big, but
So you don't like super big games?
not really, no. It just for the simple fact that the same way you want it, you can lose it. You know, you can have the best hand on the turn when you put in 12,000, and then boom, there, red 3 comes and you lost it all. You know, like that. So I like to play in the middle. You know, in the middle of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to lull myself to sleep in a small game, and I don't necessarily need to play in the highest games. But basically, after that first 2 days, I then went and started playing in some bigger tournaments down there that I hadn't planned on playing in and stuff like that. And it's a whole nother experience down there. I'll tell you what. I don't know where the money comes from. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, be a 25-year-old kid just pulls up in a Bentley, comes in with a backpack full of cash, and he wants to play cards. You know, like
Cool.
that's never happening in Horseshoe Council Bluffs. You know, and some of them are good. Some of these kids are good. Some of them are bad. And then there'll be like a 85-year-old guy that comes in with his 30-year-old wife. You know, and he's terrible. He can't play for shit, and he's just there to blow a little money and have fun, and then they probably go to dinner or whatever it is. You know, that's the difference in the overflow of the players in bigger cities,
Yeah.
bigger casinos than we have. But yeah, that's probably my favorite spot. Texas is a big place to go to now because they have the card rooms, which it's a really weird situation there. So they break down these private games real heavy. The law enforcement does, because they get robbed a lot, and there's a lot of violence. Okay, because they play for huge money. Their private games are just too big. So that's why they crack down on those games. So they've opened up what are called just card houses, and it's poker only. And they have like probably 2 outside of each major city, and it's supposed to be the best poker in the country right now. I haven't went down yet, but I know a guy that went down once, and he said, "I'm getting an apartment." He's like, I got this Airbnb for a month. He said, I'm getting an apartment down here.
Wow.
I guess there's a lot of like tech guys, and I don't, that are just down there playing real bad. And then your oil business, your cattle
True,
people.
yeah.
I mean, there's just so many more.
It's a bunch of money.
Bunch of money, yeah.
Now, when you played online versus in person, are you someone who like watches people's tells? Like, so when you play online, there's not really a tell, or can you just tell by their playing style? And
Yeah.
Not like a
Right.
he squints when he's you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, there was real funny tells that you could pick up online, and you would write them down. I would write them down on a piece of paper, but then you could type them into your little note thing on the deal. And I didn't play online heavy enough to really get good at that, but there were guys that knew. And then also, like, if it's like, big arm Tanner, right? He's one of the players on Full Tilt or whatever. And he did some crazy play. I would take a note with his screen name, and then if I saw him again, I would watch for it, or, stuff like that. But there was people that actually thought they could read, the whole table on a computer, and I never felt like I had that kind of control.
But now in person,
I'm pretty good at that. I'm real good at it.
Do most people have a tell?
Yeah, like your guy that's really like obnoxiously trying to get his chips in, and seems a little nervous. He has the big hand. He's got it. And then your guy that's kind of in the bushes, making a slow play, and then all of a sudden, he makes a late decision and verbally says, "I'm all in." Sometimes that's probably a bluff. I don't know. Once you play with them and you see the hands they're turning over, right? Even though I'm not in the hand, I want to see what you're turning over. the time you bet this amount, what did you have there? And so you got to pay attention to all that stuff. That's pretty much what I do the first couple hours actually at a table. However, when I'm playing in those mixed games, it's just limit. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to have the strong reading skills that you do with the no limit games.
What is the etiquette if someone folds? What's your etiquette with your cards? So like if you raise and they end up folding.
Gotcha. So you're saying, do I like turn over and show them a bluff, or do
Because
yeah.
like but I don't play a lot.
Right.
But when I have, like if I have it, I flip it.
Right. Yeah. So
Or if I want to get in their head and I'm bluffing, I also flip it.
absolutely.
But
right.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the mental game at the poker table is probably the most important part, actually. So like I'll switch gears from friendly to asshole, whenever. Just depends who I'm playing against. But yeah, you can do that. A lot of guys, if they have like ace queen and flop comes ace 6-2, they bet, the other guy folds, they just turn over the one ace and show them. That's just nice guy stuff. It's not necessary. It doesn't matter.
There's no rule. Like
There's no rule.
party
There's no
rule. That's like
gentleman's
you gotta.
rule.
No.
Like you're gonna get beat up out back if you don't show.
No, there's some guys that are like, come on, man, I showed you last time. They do that, but I do both. If I know a guy wants to see the hand, I don't show him, and then if it's a guy that I know he doesn't give a shit, and then also showing a bluff is big. Showing a bluff is big. If you can get away with showing a bluff, then you're going to get 2 or 3 hours worth of action. Then you stop bluffing.
Yes.
And wait for the hand, and then you get paid off.
Some strategy to it.
Yeah.
You'll be playing chess basically.
It is chess, definitely.
Or if you have it, you show it, and then you can bluff next time.
Right. Yeah, and you have there's lots of verbal stuff. Like you turn it over. I always have it. I always have it. If I put chips in the pot, I have it. And then they try to catch you next time.
Yeah.
But I learned a long time ago that you really, really have to be bluffing is an art, and you can get away with it as long as you know the player you're playing against. If it's a good player, you can most likely get away with a bluff. If you're playing against your average sucker, you're not going to want to bluff that guy because he's just going to look you up with a pair of sixes or something.
Yeah.
And it's good. And you're like,
Oh, shit.
nice hand.
What's been your biggest take?
In one,
Not counting that computer one.
right. In one game, so I've only won one tournament, not to switch off into tournaments, but I've only won one tournament. There's two different styles of poker, tournament poker and cash game. I won a tournament in Colorado in 2009, and that was 83,000. And then I would say the biggest cash game for one sitting has been 26,000 was the biggest. In one.
So the 83 or the tournament, how many days was that? Was that 1 day or was that a 2-day tournament?
It was 2. Yeah, it was 2. So it was in Blackhawk. And this was back before they changed the law to no limit. So the only no limit they were playing was tournament no limit. So guys were just blasting off, right? And it was called a re-entry. This was at the beginning when they first started doing these, and it was an $1,100 tournament. And what that means is you can re-enter if you get knocked out, right? To a certain time, like maybe like level 6 or 8 or whatever. Anyways, the crazy part was I had already knocked this guy out of the tournament twice. And I had 2 aces and he had 2 10s, and they flops a 10 and I almost throw up because there's only like 6 of us left. And I'm like, I knocked this guy out twice. This is so crazy. And then I rivered an ace. So I re-sucked out on him is what it's called. And that was just nuts. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, that was the weirdest scenario of cards ever. Because like, how are you up against the same guy,
Yeah.
But that scenario.
So you got him 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
So he doesn't like you.
No. And the best part was I was up there. I had a Terry Bradshaw, and I didn't even know. It's just random. I had a Terry Bradshaw throwback football jersey on, and it was the playoff game where Roethlisberger just stuck it to the Broncos. And that was on the Sunday where the final table was going. And I think I got more action because I had the jersey on,
Oh yeah.
obviously. And they knew I wasn't from there too. And I didn't ever say if I was from Pittsburgh or not, but it was a fun time.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good people. I got called a piece of shit or whatever a few times, but I never felt like anybody wanted to fight.
And so this is your sole income, basically. Is just
Yeah. Do a lot of sports betting, and just a couple other little investments here and there. But I actually think that I probably am going to be sharp enough to play till I'm 60, probably. I'm 52 right now. But I don't know. Now that I'm here, working out with my poker trainer, Tom, getting healthier, maybe we'll extend that lifespan.
Yeah.
But like the 12th, I'm going to Vegas, and I get to play the seniors events. And it's just funny because, like, when I was in my 40s, all the older dudes were like, "You're never going to believe this shit, man. You need to get a fake ID that says you're 50 because these tournaments are just like crazy, And so I would hear about them for a few years, and then the first year I went out, I sat in the tournament, and it was just amazing. There was like literally about 3 guys at the table that were trying not to die that day.
physically.
Like
Yeah.
physically.
There's one lady with $100,000 worth of diamonds on that just is having a great time. Then there's a guy who's, 70 and who's, he thinks he's a little bit sharper than the rest of the table. So he's yelling at the old guys that are moving slow. And so I start picking on that guy every time because it's like, dude, just leave these guys alone. They're fucking 80. And, however, that is something to look forward to every year because last year was 9,900 entries at 1,000 apiece. And it's a 5-day tournament. I didn't even make day 2. I was pretty devastated, but it's a 5-day tournament. There's 2 day ones, and then day 3 is actually the day 2 they enter. And then 3 and the 5th day would be the final table. And so that's about the closest chance of a huge, huge score that I can see in the future.
When's this?
This is June 16th is the WSOP seniors event. I'm going out on the 12th. I'm playing a seniors event at the Aria and then a seniors event at the Wynn. They all do the same shit in the same week, even though they're competitors.
Yeah.
Like the actual WSOP, it's pretty terrible. It's so big, and if you don't have like a diamond card or a 7-star card, you have to wait in these lines. I mean, lines. Like sometimes if you don't get in the right line, you'd be in line for 2 hours just to pay to get in them.
Jesus.
And so those aren't as fun obviously anymore, but I still got to figure it out. So what I do, I try to go the night before and then register the night before. That way I don't have to wait in those lines anymore. But so I'm going out on the 12th, play on the 13th, play on the 14th. Those are 1-day events, which I think is really cool. I might be looking too far ahead, but a 1-day event means we start at 10 a.m. and we just go until it's over, which means probably 3, 4, maybe 5 in the morning.
So these old guys.
Right. That's
These
what
old
I'm
guys.
saying. So like when I saw it was 1 days, when I saw it was 1 days, I was like, ooh, I think I got a huge advantage there.
So you're just gonna
Right.
chill.
Just chill.
Just get it late.
Yeah.
now, okay. Now, how does that work? Do you guys do they bring food to the table? Like, how do you not just
you
like
get breaks. Yeah. So just a 1-day tournament like that, you're gonna get a 15-minute break every 2 hours. You can obviously get up and leave too at any time, but you have the chips in front of you and the time is going. There's a clock in the tournaments, and then they raise the blinds every 30 minutes.
trying to thin the herd a little bit?
They do thin the herd. So you don't want to just get up anytime, but they do give you a dinner. They're going to give you for like a 1-day tournament. They'll probably give you a 45-minute dinner break. But you can, yes, order stuff to the table. And those places got great food. It's crazy. You can pretty much get whatever you want. And if they don't have it on that menu, you can play the old trick and just get room service too. Like a lot of people don't know that trick. That's the real trick. You know, I've seen guys get like a steak and lobster at the table, and everybody's like, "What the?"
Fuck.
Yeah.
So now with your level, is all that kind of comped, like your rooms and everything at this point? Because you got enough.
No, it's crazy. So they don't really give you much. So every poker room in the country gives you about $2 an hour towards food on your card. Good old Horseshoe of Council Bluffs, Iowa. Shout out to them. They give you 50 cents an hour. So that's another reason I'm disgruntled when I walk in the door.
Get yourself a sody.
Well, the thing is like the sandwich is still the same price. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, it's not like it's an $8 burger. It's still a $15 burger, you know? So it's one of the reasons I
Well, after 4 hours, it's only $13.
exactly. Right? Yeah. And so they do have poker rates on hotels, but they don't comp the whole room. I will find a few spots where I can get comped, like if I made like some big sports plays or something like that. And then my girlfriend's kind of a big shot. She gets the free rooms for us because she likes slots. How you doing, Sarah? So she is a big wig now at the Cosmopolitan at Aria. But yeah, technically, you don't want to try to get those comps because they're not comping like they used to. Like it's bad now, real bad.
Well, Vegas has gotten so expensive in general.
Oh, it's bad.
I was out there a couple years back, and it's just so expensive.
Yeah, and just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it does. And I think they're kind of capping out now because they're starting to feel it a little bit.
Well, I think as far as like for a lot of people, because I would venture to say more than half the people that go to Vegas don't even gamble anymore. They're just there to do shows and shop.
Yeah, and you see a lot of people from a lot of other countries like doing like a tour of America, and they stop through there.
Yeah, because I think overall the party part, I think Nashville is taking a big shot to Vegas.
Yeah,
as far because you get all the bar and the fun of Vegas, but there's way less fucking weirdos in Nashville.
right.
And I think that's probably taking a shot, and it's affordable.
Right. Yeah, like I noticed, well, there's been a lot of different waves I've noticed in Vegas, but the recent one was like when they shut it down during the pandemic, I think a lot of the old school guys that were doing valet and limo drivers and blackjack dealers and all that, like if they were from Boston or if they were from New York City or maybe LA or wherever they were from, they just went home. They were just like, whoa, this shit's a little crazy, you know? They shut down Vegas, you know? Mm-hmm. And so those people never came back. And now they have all these like workers that don't have that same vibe and that same skill that all the old school guys did. Mm. And so things have changed, and it's weird. I mean, like, you know, I try to keep it simple, like on a day playing cards, but it's going to be $50 for lunch at the pool, you know, get a salad and a tall Fiji, and it's $48, you know, and you just, obviously you can find another place, you know, you can go find In-N-Out or you can go find some stuff somewhere, but it's pretty ridiculous.
Have you been to Secret Pizza at the Cosmo?
Yes.
It's fucking good.
Yes. The best part of Secret Pizza is that you can order it for room service. Obviously, it's fun to do that little stand in line and, wow, you know, we found this place. But you can order it from room service. A buddy of mine had a party out there, and they were all just like, oh, well, we don't have a reservation anywhere. So I ordered 4 Secret Pizzas, you know, to the room, and yeah, it's pretty solid too.
It's good pizza, but yeah, it's
What kind of pizza is it? Like thin fire?
like a New York style.
Yeah.
But it's like a speakeasy.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what's there. There's like this just hallway with all these like pictures on the wall.
Yeah, no sign.
We were there, and
It's cool.
some lady had said something to Amber, and she was like, what is this place? And Amber goes, it's a secret. She got all like bent out of shape about it. Amber's like, no, it's literally like Secret Pizza. Like it's like
Right.
what it's called. Like it's like, got all like bent out of shape about it.
The trick is, so they're so busy. The trick is you have to just get a whole pizza.
Well, there's no seating. You have to sit in that little
Right.
awkward common furniture out there,
is,
the commons area. It's
yeah.
shitty.
Yeah. Because otherwise they take a slice and just put it in the oven and heat it back up. But if you get the whole pie, it's fresh right there, and it's a big difference. Difference.
And yeah, even the reheat's good.
Right. Yeah, that's at the Cosmopolitan. That's We used to be there probably the last 5 years. It's kind of like the trendy spot or whatever, and I'm just kind of wore out with it.
Yeah.
But it's really, really cool.
It's really cool. It's really pretty in there. Like it's
Yeah,
the big chandelier they have in there.
Yeah,
It's
the
crazy.
chandelier bar. They have 5 speakeasies. We stayed there like 3 or 4 times. Never knew they had a speakeasy. Then once we found out we're on this big hunt, So those are cool. You find those. But they know they're cool, right? They got so cool that MGM bought them and ruined everything. MGM bought them, and then they changed all kinds of shit. Like, I don't get free rooms anymore. Just small stuff, But it is funny that you can do that, right? You're just the owner of MGM. You look across the street, you're like,
I want that.
Like
see you guys over there doing big things.
Like to shit on it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think the mob still runs Vegas.
Well, I mean, technically, there's like 3 groups, Steve Wynn is one of the biggest groups. He actually had to step away from his company, but that's a whole nother story. But he actually like fought against the mobsters back in the day. Not physically, but he was threatened. They were going to kill him a whole bunch of times, and somehow he survived.
Yeah, it's for the longest time when we go out there, because I have some family out there, you wouldn't see police on the strip.
No.
Like never. Now you do.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, I just think the mob ran it all.
Yeah. Each casino has a little jail in the wherever. I haven't been there, but they.
Well, it's like what's that movie 21 with the dudes from MIT?
Oh, that's a freaking great.
They count cards and they take them in that back room.
Yep.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I don't know if you guys have seen recently, but they have changed all the laws now. Like they're really cracking down on money laundering, and which is weird because the city started like that, But Resorts World was involved in the Otani case.
No.
Where his dude was betting.
The indictment that was in L.A. for the sports betting, the interpreter was putting in bets with this guy. Long story short, he blew $7 million over like the course of a year in Resorts World, and then they were like, "Well, where'd you get that?" And then actually one of the actual workers from Resorts World was also involved in the whole thing too. They ended up kind of skating out from underneath it. They paid a fine, but the fine was less than the guy lost, But that particular case changed everything, and now there's an actual law. And I don't know how they're going to enforce it, but, there's guys flying in on private jets with bags full of cash from other countries. Like, how are you going to, figure that out? Like, so I think it's kind of just some bullshit.
Yeah, like I said, it's a city built on money laundering. I mean,
Right.
wasn't Bugsy Siegel did the first one out there?
Yeah.
Tropicana.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically built it in the middle of the desert to launder money.
Poor Bugsy, he never even got to see the lights get turned on.
Yeah.
It was all his idea, and he didn't make it. That's a crazy story.
Yeah.
He had to borrow another like $2 million after he had maxed out or whatever, and they thought that his girlfriend was taking all the money, and she wasn't. They killed him, and there was Vegas, and that was his idea. The Flamingo.
The Flamingo. Yep, there you go. Yeah, I know. I thought Tropicana. Yeah.
And they've been trying to tear down, and everybody wants to tear down and buy the Flamingo, and they've stayed pretty solid with not letting it happen. It's still fairly the same building that it was.
Yeah, the whole mob scene's a fascinating thing in general.
Yeah.
Like, especially get into like the New York mobs.
Yeah, if you guys ever go out there, the Mob Museum downtown is pretty fun. It's a cool little place. They actually have a speakeasy bar in the basement when you leave too, which is cool.
I just saw a thing they're selling. Wasn't the head of the Gambino, Paul Castellano? They're selling his house.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's pretty
For
cool.
like $18 million or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he barely lived in it.
Right.
I think he commissioned it in like 1980 to get built. He got whacked in like 85 on like a non-commissioned hit. Like,
Right.
yeah,
It's a rough life.
yeah. But you guys got anything else?
Good luck in June.
Yeah.
Thank
Wait
you.
out the old people.
Yeah, wait them out.
Right. Well, you guys will know. I will either be back here pushing the fucking sled or I won't be here. I feel good about it this year. There's 3. I'm playing in 3. I'm focused on the 3. Obviously, if I spin my tires in the first 2, I might choose to not play the third one because it's a 5-day. and I might just play cash games or find a Hold'em tournament. There's so much stuff going on. So during the WSOP, the actual WSOP is at the Horseshoe in Paris, and then every other building has an event as well. Like what's going on at the Wynn and what's going on at the Aria are truly better than what's going on at the actual WSOP. You just have to look over all the schedules, figure it out, and kind of have a plan, and then you can adjust. But those are the three that I'm focused on right now.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, I used to, when I was single, I would go out there for the whole thing, and there was some crazy, like it's about 47 days.
Jeez.
And you have to pace yourself, obviously, and it used to be a thing, and you can't get discouraged too soon because you still have this amount of time. But I don't know if I could even pull it off anymore, though. It's a lot, like, first of all, you have to avoid all the traps. For 47 days, you have to avoid the bars, the clubs, the slot machines, like, you know what I mean? The $180 dinner. Like
Right.
you have to, there's so many traps, right? So you have to avoid all those. And it used to be a thing.
That's crazy. It's a cool story. We appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah,
It's a good
thanks.
time. It's cool
Yeah,
stories.
shit.
Appreciate it.
And we, we learned more.
I appreciate this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started, in case anybody didn't know, we started this deal off with a 30-year shot of Crown. So that was good. That was a
Yeah.
good way to
Somebody brought
start.
us a nice bottle of
Yeah.
single barrel Buffalo Trace from their bars.
That was really
right.
good.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Shout out to your bar.
Yeah, sure. Blue Chip Ultra Lounge on 148th and Maple.
Let's go
We have a
check it
good
out.
selection of pretty much any kind of adult beverages you need and a delightful staff.
You guys play games there at all?
No.
No.
Have thought about it. Actually played in a game there before Sarah bought the place. A friend of mine owned it before that, and we did play once.
Nice.
But yeah, for the most part, there's no card games over there.
Someday.
Yeah,
Someday, right?
yeah.
All right, man. We appreciate it. If you guys like what we're doing, like, subscribe, share, follow, and we'll see you guys next time.